They shall live by faith, and faith is expecting God to do what he said that he will do. Faith is the vision of God. And I want you to realize from this passage here, I want you to see a few things. A vision should be written. A vision should be written. A vision should be written. Have you written your vision? A vision should be written. Don't just see it, write what you see. God showed John on the island of Patmos incredible revelation, and what he showed him, he didn't just say, oh, I want you to see this. He said, I want you to write the vision. I want you to write what you see. Can you imagine what would have happened had spiritual people of old only saw it themselves? Had they been the only one to see it and they never wrote about it, how would that benefit us if they didn't write it? God told them, write this thing. A vision should be written. Secondly, a vision should be read. It should be read. You got to, why write it if you'll never read it? Why write something if nobody will ever read it? And I say this, write something worth reading or do something worth writing about. Write something worth reading or do something worth writing about. But a vision should be written. A vision should be read. Thirdly, a vision should be run with. Run with it. You write it, you read it to get motivated, fired up, and focused by it, and then you run with it. It must be written, it must be read, it must be run with. You can't open a business and explain something to a person one time and expect them to get it. You have to put it in writing. Put it in writing. You go to an elementary school, there are going to be things to remind the children. You can't tell a child something one time. You have to put all kind of notes around the wall. Be polite. Share. You have to remind them. They have to see it. They have to see it in order to be it. They have to see it. A vision must be written. A vision must be read. A vision must be run with. And a vision must be received in advance. It must be received in advance. You write the vision, for the vision is for an appointed time. That means that God will give you the vision long before it is time to implement it. God gave Noah the vision to build the ark long before it ever rained on the earth. You do realize that one of the reasons that it seemed so preposterous to people, and people laughed at Noah to no end, because it had never rained on the earth. The Bible speaks about it in the earlier chapters of Genesis, how God watered the earth through a mist that came up from the ground. Water had never come down on the earth. They had never seen rain until the time of Noah. So God was saying, I want you to build something. Prepare for something that the earth has never seen before. Suppose God gave you a vision to build something that nobody has ever seen before. Don't think that you got to do something that everybody else in the earth has already done. There are some things that have not been hidden from you, they've been hidden for you. And maybe God wants you to start thinking in some dimensions. Maybe he wants to show you something that has not yet been done, so you don't have to just copy everything. Don't just open up a burger joint and do what McDonald's has done. We got enough McDonald's. We don't need another one of those. Don't just come up with another copycat. Do something else different with a twist on it. Be creative. Let God give you something that has a uniqueness, and trust him. But make sure that you got a vision from God. But understand that that vision, it must be written, it must be read, it must be run with, and it must be received in advance, because every vision requires incredible preparation. You got to see somebody who is doing something on another level for you to really be able to be in a position to catch a vision. You got to see something in order to see something. And so take a person like Abraham, Father Abraham. This man is the father of our faith. And God had spoken to him for 24 years saying, Abraham, that I'm going to use you, Abraham. You shall have a son, and your seed shall be mighty upon the earth. He had heard that for 24 years. But one night when God says, I'm ready for this thing to come into manifestation, Abraham had been hearing it. Yeah, God, you're going to bless me. Yeah. He got impatient in the meantime, and he went out and tried to do it in the flesh. And that's when he got hooked up with Hagar and produced Ishmael. You know, settling through impatience, settling. Why are you living like a carnal, dusty man? You were made of the dust, but you are not dust. When the Spirit of God mixed with the dust, it transformed you from being dust. Dust settles. Why are you trying to be like the stuff from whence you were made? You are more than dust. Dust settles, but that's not who you are any longer. You are not dust. You are not dust. Touch yourself, say, I'm not dust. If you were dust, when you touch yourself, part of you would have flown off. Wouldn't that be some ladies if you could just shake off the excess dust and shape it how you wanted it, when you wanted it? Wouldn't that be something? But you got to see it to be it. I tell you, everybody that gets reconstructive surgery, they already have a vision of what the finished product is supposed to look like. It's not just going by something verbal, it's going by something visual. Because you got to say it until you see it. 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 So Abraham, for all of these years, 24 years, he had heard it. He'd heard it that he was going to make a nation out of him, that he was going to give him a mighty seed in the earth. But then all of a sudden, 24 years after God gave him that word, after he'd been hearing that word, all of a sudden God says, look up. And when Abraham looks up, he sees the stars. He sees it. And then God says, count them. And now he engages in an activity trying to count what he sees. And he can't. And now God says, you see how those stars? Those are your grandchildren. And your great-grandchildren. And your great-great-grandchildren. And the same way that you're not going to be able to count them, you won't be able to count the multitude that's going to come out of your loins. Your progeny. And then he says, now look down on the seashore. See the grains of sand? Count them. You ever tried to count grains of sand? He discovered that they were innumerable, incalculable. And so he gave up on it. And there, he just had to just let it go. He had to let it go. And that's what God is calling us to be able to do. He wants us to see it until we get a revelation of it on the inside. So God showed him in the heavens, and then he showed him on the earth. It's the way that God does. God always confirms. Whatever God shows you from the heavens, he'll always confirm it in the earth. Whatever happens, as it is in heaven, so it is on the earth. As it is in heaven, so it is in the earth. So what God does up there, he confirms down here. When he speaks from heaven, if he shows you something in the heavens, God then shows it to you down here. So God wants to bring a confirmation. A confirmation. Say confirmation. Heavenly and then earth. So God always confirms his word. He always confirms. He's going to show you something. If he shows you something in heaven, he'll also show it to you in the earth so that would be confirmation. Confirmation. So that you hear it and then you see it. So Job heard it and then he saw it. My eye sees you. It's time now for us to be able to see something.